This is going to happen.
You think nukes are happening?
Yeah.
You think
I
like more than
his
50%?
I don't know more, but I would place this at high, man. Higher than it's ever been.
What's high for you?
30 to 40%.
Holy shit, that's very high.
Yeah.
that's
I think
really
this is
high.
happening.
So,
And no one's going to stop
It
it.
would mark the end of his reign for sure.
Welcome back to the Alfalfa podcast for another episode. We're back. We're doing it. I'm excited for this one. Cultural popcorn.
Political popcorn?
Political
Cultural
popcorn?
I don't know.
I like political popcorn.
That was a working title.
Eric prefers culture, though.
I just don't like talking about politics so much. I like talking about culture.
Culture, bro.
Eric doesn't like politics. He's more of a culture guy.
I mean, I
Yeah.
am too.
You guys are
I
boring.
Nobody
like,
likes.
I like politics.
Yeah, well, you guys are boring.
I like the blood sport. You're boring. You know what? Your face is stupid.
I've learned to love politics. I used to not give a shit about politics before. Thought it was. I actually my root belief is still the same, that it's just garbage.
Boring.
That's where I've changed. It's not boring anymore to me. It's just still nothing but.
You know what's more fun? Culture.
Yeah. Okay. Let's call it cultural popcorn. So, Steven, what's going on with Twitter? I did not know this.
Yeah, I did. Are you on Twitter?
No.
Must be nice.
Yeah.
So
no.
I'm on
I
Twitter.
spend like 10 minutes a week on Twitter.
As some of you know. So I heard about this within about 3 seconds of it happening, unfortunately. But Elon's buying Twitter again, apparently.
I love this news.
So I don't know if you guys also saw, but the day before he put out a peace plan for like Russia, Ukraine, which I thought was like pretty reasonable. I'm trying to think what it was off the top of my head. I think he said, we redo elections in the disputed regions, but make sure that they're fair. We give Russia Crimea, and Russia does something. I don't know. It seemed reasonable. It seemed like the inevitable conclusion of what's happening to me. But then Zelensky and the diplomat guy from Ukraine, which I think is his technical title, was basically like, I think he literally said, respectfully and diplomatically, fuck you.
What? That was the tweet back?
Yeah, it was very. There was a lot of hate going at Elon actually, which I thought was really interesting. I've never quite understood like the Ukraine Russia stuff. Like I go back and forth on it, and it seems like a very confusing issue to me. But there are these people on Twitter who are just like just rabidly pro Ukraine to the point where it seems like they would just like blow up the entire world over it, which is not very pragmatic to me. But anyway, it seems like Elon went home and just thought about this and just woke up the next day and was like, I'm buying Twitter.
Oh, really?
I don't know if there's a correlation, but that's sort of what happened.
Okay.
Yeah, he just came out the next day. He's like, I'm buying Twitter again.
I don't feel like that has any correlation whatsoever.
But
I feel like he got backed into a deal and agreed to a price.
You don't not know that.
I don't not know that. But like, here's something, Mr. Twitter. Like 5 minutes ago, I just read that the people funding the deal for Elon to buy Twitter are trying to back out now.
Now that he wants to do the deal again?
This is as of 5 minutes. So we'll see how this whole episode ages. But
So maybe this is just a scam he's running again, knowing it. Because I kind of felt like the first time he was buying Twitter, he was just doing it to dump his Tesla shares. You know, he's like, guys, I need liquidity.
I thought maybe
I'm
he
buying
just went,
Twitter.
I thought
Sorry.
he maybe just went long common Twitter shares like 5 days ago and was like, no, I'm back on. And then
Well, there's another conspiracy running around now that he intentionally
It's only
backed out of the deal
conspiracies.
so that his financiers could gobble up a bunch of stock, only to have him re-announce that he's buying Twitter, and then they get rich, and then he has to put less of his own money in. I did absolutely no vetting on that conspiracy.
Right.
It was
Well,
tweeted
Twitter
by
is
some random guy I follow.
factually, Twitter is up 22% since the announcement.
It hit like a circuit breaker, right? Didn't they have to
Yeah.
halt trading? It went up so fast.
Yeah. So
People love throwing conspiracies around with Elon. Everyone assumes he's up to no good always. Well, it's just two camps, right? It's the camp of like, he's here to save free speech and he's an unbelievable entrepreneur. And then there's the camp of like, this guy's up to no good and he's a car salesman.
So what's your take personally on this endeavor to like buy Twitter? You think that's
Oh, Armand definitely hates it. He's definitely not in favor of Elon owning Twitter.
of like him just even doing it in
Yeah,
general.
yeah. Like, what do you think is his motivation?
Oh, his motivation. I don't think anyone will ever know his true motivation.
Oh, I know.
I think it's pretty straightforward. I think
pretty straightforward.
I think he just wants it to be a little more free speechy. Like he just wants there to be a town square kind of vibe. I think that's what he wants.
I'm even more cynical. That wasn't even cynical, actually.
That wasn't cynical.
I was just taking him
That's
for
why I'm
face.
so confused at this reaction right now.
I'm taking for
You're
face
both
value.
acting like I said it's a
No.
little bit gray, and then you're like it's very face value, and you're.
I
gonna
think we
give
have
me
a
like
lot of precedent for
conspiracy.
this. No, I don't think it's conspiracy. I think when you become like super, super rich, it's like this natural thing where you're like, you know what? I need media. It's like Bezos, just rich, so rich, and he's like, I need the press. I need a newspaper.
He buys Washington Post.
Buys Washington Post, and it has tons of utility for you as like an uber rich person, right? You can control a lot of the narrative and do stuff, and like you can do things like even if
That's
the Washington
opposite
Post
of the entire premise of the whole reason he wants Twitter.
That's the reason
that
he
he's-
says.
Okay,
I'm saying what people's motive. You're like, I have no idea why
But think
a
about what
super
you're
rich
saying.
guy
So
would buy
you're
Twitter.
saying, so you're saying he's not going to. You're saying it's going to be worse. He's going to control the algorithm
No,
in his
that's not
favor.
what I'm saying. I'm saying you
That's what
guys are
you're
like,
saying.
why does he want to buy Twitter? It's a mystery. I don't know. And I'm like,
Well, I'm
it's,
just
it's
taking
because
his
he's
face
really
value,
rich, and rich people want to
he's
buy media
challenging the
companies.
face value statement.
But
and I
you're
think that's fair.
challenging the face value statement by basically saying that by controlling the platform, he'll control speech in his favor or use it as a tool in his toolkit because now he's the richest man in the world and he wants to control the major media outlet.
You think you're going? I think you're going a step further. I don't think he necessarily wants to control, but he wants the ability to have some element of control, like in his tool belt. Like why does Bezos want the Washington Post? He doesn't want the Washington Post because of its epic cash flows. He wants it because it's like a useful asset. To
But the
hold.
Washington Post could not be more different than Twitter.
How so?
There's a small group of writers that perpetuate ideas and they go directly from the top down. Twitter is a public, open town square where he wants to protect free speech.
I mean, you know,
and they
I-
could not be more
I
different.
would
I
argue
feel like you're
you
joking
have
with that question.
way more power controlling Twitter than with the
Well,
Post. Like if you believe
You just
Bezos
asked what's
has
the difference. The difference is Web 1 versus Web 2. And
If
that's
you
what the
believe
difference is.
Bezos has somewhat nefarious means for buying the Post, it would be way more effective to have Twitter. Like if anything, Twitter is infinitely way more valuable to have as like an evil billionaire than the Post. I'm not saying Elon is an evil billionaire. I'm just saying like if you had infinite money, it would be a nice thing to own.
If what you're saying is correct, I just want to make sure I'm being very precise in my words here. If what you're saying is correct, it would be a worse Twitter than Twitter today.
What? No, what I'm saying has nothing to do with the quality of Twitter.
Are we getting lost in a weed here?
I don't know. I feel like I'm not saying that.
No.
How about
You're absolutely saying that. You're saying that if the billionaire buys Twitter and he's stating that his reason is to remove all of the censorship and bias that exists and to remove all of the problems like bots and the laundry list of things that he wants to improve, he does that, but then he does it to have the next step has to come at play to what you're saying. There has to be a reason.
Yeah, what's the
What's
nefarious
the nefarious part?
I'm not saying it's nefarious. I'm saying it's very obvious. If you're a very, very rich man, and we have tons of precedent for this, very, very wealthy men eventually look to acquire large media conglomerates.
And
it's a
if
thing.
he did anything that was nefarious, it would be just exactly what it is today, if not worse, and people would obviously
I'm not saying
have
he's
an
doing
issue with
anything
that.
nefarious. All I'm saying is like it's not a mystery as to
Okay,
why, and he doesn't
so
need some like weird free speech.
I'm not having
motive.
fun with this conversation. Let's take this in a different direction. Do you think the deal's actually going to go through?
I have no
Do
idea.
you think the deal's actually going to go through?
It sounds like it is, but like
Yeah, I think
I've
he's
had
being,
my
I
chain
think,
yanked one too many times.
I think
at
his
this point.
hand is being forced almost because he like agreed to it. I don't think he wants to buy Twitter at the $54 billion valuation that he agreed on. But I'm thinking that now he's agreeing to it because he has to. Like, I don't think that the market environment has gotten better, right? It's gotten worse. Valuations have come down. For him to be like, okay, fine, 54 billion, after knowing that there's all bots, like this is not like him in like a arm's length transaction being like, yeah, this is probably the intrinsic value of the asset. No, I think
I don't see why he would lose the case, though. It's a very, very steep battle going to court and getting somebody to like purchase something like that. So like, I feel like there's something else up here. It doesn't make any sense to me. What is really weird is, maybe you guys didn't know this because you don't live on crypto Twitter like me, but it was a big meme going around crypto Twitter yesterday where everybody was just saying like, MetaMask, Coinbase support, lost seed phrase.
Oh, yeah.
And then people are like,
just to get the engagement.
where are all the bots?
Oh,
No,
yeah,
like
the bots are gone.
The bots, they're not totally gone. Like people are posting screenshots of a couple bots.
Oh.
But it's so weird. Like Elon does this and then immediately 85% of the scam bots are gone.
Even just the threat of free market competition sort of improves the process.
Like why? Why?
All these different questions of like, what's the real motivation? What's really happening behind the scenes? I find these kinds of questions to be really challenging. That's why the only thing that you can do, unless you want to really, put the tinfoil hat on and like go down the rabbit hole on all these different ideas, which can be fun. It's just not my shtick. I take it at face value and I look at this and I don't know what his motivation is to now be back in the deal. But what it appears like to me is that the guy genuinely cares about the reason that he stated, is that he wants to provide a free speech platform. And that in order to build out this, app that does everything, he might as well build it on an app that already has a fuck ton of users and the building blocks of everything that he needs. It has the communication aspect. Now he just wants to make it like the WeChat of America or of the world, really. And this allows him to do that much more easily. So like, I think his motivation is pure. I think the guy just gets bored sometimes. I think instead of looking at things in such a cynical way, the way I look at them is like, okay, your first thing that you shared with us was like that he went on Twitter and he shared a peace plan. That's incredible. He has the time to do that, to think about that and formulate that and then post that. And everyone loves to shit on him because he's one of the most popular people in the
have
world.
a suspicious amount of time to tweet.
Incredible amount of time. The way he's able to actually run multiple companies, tweet, formulate world-changing ideas, and then, we're going to get into this in the next episode, Tesla bot, all this stuff happening is absolutely remarkable. The guy does not get enough credit. There are way too many haters out there. So I am going to remain in the supporter camp for as long as possible.
But
I may be proven wrong and I may eat my words, by the way. He may end up being a fucking con artist. And I'll be like, okay, well, it didn't work out.
Only history can tell.
Yeah.
Only
For the record, I think Elon owning Twitter is great for Twitter. I'm much happier having Elon own Twitter than the current commies who own it. Like it's just just ridiculous the way the thing is run right now.
Even Jack left for the same reason. He's like, this shit sucks. So what's next on our list here? What else can we
I'm starting to pick up on some Eric patterns, by the way. We're going to come across another
work
one.
on Eric's segues.
Well, when we talk about Jordan Peterson, Eric's going to lose it. He's going to want to exit that conversation immediately. I think he has like a guru thing, and there's a little bit of a guru thing.
He's just like a kid who's like, you give him a toy and he's like, I'm bored with this toy, and he throws it against the wall.
Let's not just get lost in semantics here and there.
That's one of them.
All right. Anyway,
getting lost. I like that.
Next thing in our little list here.
We don't have to hit this like a laundry list, though. We're having a conversation here. All right, go to the next thing.
Oh, I'm sorry. Let me just organically bring it up. Like, guys, did you hear about this thing that happened at NYU the other day?
I guess we have to pivot now.
Did you hear? Did you hear?
Ooh, what?
Yeah, it was crazy. Apparently, this organic chemistry teacher who was like renowned as like an expert in his field was fired by the school because his students signed a petition saying that his class was too hard.
Oh, thank God it's not another freaking sex crime or something. Okay.
No sex crimes here.
Great.
Just
right.
a guy.
So what happened? He was too hard?
Yeah, he was failing a lot of kids. They got together. They signed a petition.
This was a biology class, right?
Organic chemistry.
Chemistry, that's right.
Which, by the way, is notorious for just
pretty tough
ruining
class.
people's lives.
Pretty tough class.
It is, and it's all rote memory. And apparently the guy was very big on actually getting down to basics and teaching people how to think.
Ooh.
And people didn't like that.
Ooh, I don't like that.
Look at that.
I love that.
Look at that nuance here.
Look at that.
Oh, man.
We did our homework, Steven.
I love that you dug into this.
So, I mean, look, organic chemistry, we've all, basically everyone has taken some form of chemistry class.
Tough class.
It's a very tough class, but most of the education system, in particular science, like science courses that a person would take, are all rote memory. You literally have to sit and memorize textbooks. This guy wrote the organic chemistry textbook, and I think he was on his 5th edition. And now who knows what the conspiracy is behind the scenes. I think you were saying that there was apparently, you were saying offline, that
somebody pulled an interesting snippet from the New York Times article where it mentions that the students were like griping about they were sharing the problems in a group chat, a group me chat, and talking about it. And this guy was like, "Oh, these motherfuckers were cheating," and this guy was just making the test harder, because like to counter the cheating.
sounds cool to me. In fact, I think like here's where I think this is very interesting. We've all been in that like position. You've been in the class, and you got to pass it, and it's an important class on your way to becoming potentially a doctor and getting an MD, and you can't get your MD if you don't pass that class. And these are medical students, right? I think.
I mean, a large swath
portion
of the
them
kids in that class are
on their way to.
You don't take that if you're like a lesbian dance theory major.
And so to them, they're just like,
or maybe
okay,
you do. I don't know.
This is a class on the way to. I can't even process what he just said.
Lesbian dance theory?
Is that what he said?
Lesbian dance theory.
I didn't even process
Major.
that. Oh my God.
That might be a real major.
It could. Damn it, Steven. So they got to pass the class. They're pissed
You
off.
asked for this.
I love this. This is what I need. This is my speed. They're on the way to getting that degree. Old man, Mr. Textbook, Mr. Popular, who nobody really probably likes because he's a tough teacher. We've all been there. Is getting in the way and attacking back at the students that he thinks are cheating or finding an edge, right? And so on the one hand, you look at the professor and you say like, well, good for him. Like he's challenging back and he's trying to teach these kids how to think, and that you can't just memorize your way out of this. You got to get to the fundamentals, the first principles of organic chemistry. And you can only pass these tests by like actually getting down to the root of how this stuff works, which is actually pretty cool if you ask me. But then when you put yourself in the student's shoes, it's like, well, shit, like one class can't take over your life. Like if it's really that hard and most people are failing, they're going to complain and they're going to do something about it. And you have this entitled culture today where it's like, I'm paying a lot of money to go to NYU, and I know that the purpose of that is to receive an education, but my outcome is what? To get a degree so that I can get a high-paying job, to pay off my student loans, and to make enough money to have a successful career. So if you are the student, you do have a bit of a sense of you owe me type of attitude because you're paying a lot of money. And the culture of university has changed to where people realize this is a bit of a scam. And the ones that are there typically getting the degrees these days are the doctors, the scientists, the engineers, and they are there to get the degree and get out and get to work and make money. So I can understand it from both sides. And it's actually a pretty interesting situation.
I think it's a bingo on your part. Like what I realized in looking at this is like a validation of the idea that these students are customers. And like the customer is always right type of mentality. And it's like, they're like the school has no obligation to like teach these kids to go get a job. The school has an obligation to like do the bare minimum to like service them, to collect their checks and then be like, see, we taught you. So like to me, it's like, sure, students rise up and then the school's like, oh yeah, okay, here you go. Just stop.
But that's
stop complaining.
broken. It's broken,
Oh,
right?
totally.
It's
Goddamn
completely
right it's
broken.
broken.
It's like what we really need to be doing is not charging the students that much, providing the best education possible, and drawing a very firm line in the sand and saying, you're not passing this class until you actually understand how this shit works. Because the point is to educate you, to make you the smartest, most knowledgeable person possible for this endeavor that you're about to embark upon of becoming a doctor and chopping people up and doing surgery on them. That's probably important to understand. Maybe not organic chemistry, but whatever.
I got another question for you guys. Does this free this professor up to then do some online lecture series on his own accord that's like taught by him, where people who want to actually learn from the best can go straight to the source?
Because like when you go, like the whole process of being a doctor, right, is inherently not free market. Like we've sort of gated the people who can like even be a medical school, and then there's these like organizations and they sort of protect their thing, right? So you have this like gated community that basically decides who can come in and who can't. And what that means is that like if you go take some organic chemistry class on YouTube and you get like an amazing degree on YouTube and you go past the MCAT, I don't know if you'd get into school. Probably not, because you didn't go through the process. You didn't go through the select. Yeah, you have to go through the institutions and all the chosen people. So that, I mean, but that's one of the problems of the secondary education system in general, is that like it is just this like certification, like stamping thing. And like you said, the economic incentives are totally fucked, because if you're NYU, every student is like 250 grand to you, basically. So anytime one of them fails, anytime you tell one of them to shut up,
and the
it's a lot of money out the door.
The teacher's just a cost center. Like you can replace that son of a bitch with the next guy in line.
Correct, because like there's no alignment of economic incentives, right? Like if the colleges like actually had to deal with like if the money they charge was directly tied to future earning potential or something, then maybe they would care.
There we go.
But it doesn't. They put on these like weird vanity metric, like the graduation rate or the average GPA, as if that's like a meaningful thing, right? And it promotes great inflation. It promotes this like mentality of like, I'm entitled to get good grades here. I need to be like, some of these quotes are like hilarious, where it's just like, I need to be a doctor, and like he's ruining my life because I can't.
But their point is valid.
No, it's not. Like, if you can't pass an organic chemistry class, maybe you shouldn't be cutting somebody open.
In the current situation, the way that the education system is designed, it is valid. If things were different and they were designed the way they should be, then they are completely wrong.
I like that.
What?
I like it.
No, I don't like that
Next
at all.
topic.
Either you know the information.
Close with a bang,
either
man.
you know the information and you can cut the guy open, or you don't.
No,
I don't
because
care
they're
about the rest of
currently
system.
a customer. They're currently a customer. They have a right to be entitled because the entire thing is broken. Here's the other side of this whole situation. These professors, these good ones, they're all gone, and anyone who's left, they have a very short lifespan remaining of teaching years. And for them, for any intelligent professor to stick around and deal with this level of political madness, and I would even call it just pure corruption at this point, the system is so broken that for someone to do this, they're doing it out of like pure laziness. They have the job, they earned it, they already committed to a lifetime of this. What else are they going to do? But the reality is they don't care anymore. They can't care anymore. They can't fight back anymore. They can't actually even stand their ground anymore. If this professor were to actually show up and be like, no, this is the way it's going to be, and the reason it's going to be this way is because you need to learn this shit the way that I tell you need to learn it, because my job is to prepare you for the world, everyone's going to be like, fuck this guy. Not take the class with him. He gets fired. Isn't that pretty much what happened?
Yeah, you guys agree. You guys
Sign the
agree on
petition.
this.
I don't agree with this.
Well, I actually want to change the whole format of this, where I get to like, I'm the judge. I get to give out points. Beep 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 beep.
All right.
And right now, I want to give some points. Beep 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 beep. So like, well, what's the next topic? I feel like we.
Wait, what? What are these transitions?
This is called popcorn. Let's pop it up.
How many do you think we have here? We got an
got a
episode
lot.
to do.
We got a lot.
We're having a conversation.
Just burning through the
Oh
topics.
my god!
Just
I'm
burning
gonna have to
through
pull
them.
him out of my ass at the end of this.
No, this is good.
Oh man! All right, Eric's gonna cut this one down in like 3 minutes.
No,
We're not
this
even gonna
is-
have.
I think this is gonna be a
Okay,
even
you're
better
giving
one.
us
is-
a good 15 minutes.
This
on
is Armand's chance to shine.
No, this is
No,
This
this
is
is
your
Armand's
whole
chance to
reason
shine.
for being here.
Watch. Watch Steven and I just get triggered right now. Okay.
Oh, I'm not going to get triggered.
Yeah, sure you are.
No, I'm not.
Let's see. All right.
Steven's
so-
never been triggered in his life.
I don't get triggered. I get incensed at the illogic that's being thrown at me.
No, he
But
only
it's not
gets-
me
So
being
do I.
triggered.
He only gets triggered by randoms. Like he doesn't get triggered in a conversation like this.
Okay.
I do get triggered by completely stupid shit.
Yeah.
So Steven, your incel god hero, Jordan Peterson.
Your incel god
No,
hero.
your-
No, your incel
Steven,
god hero.
your incel god
Your incel
Okay,
god
somebody
Your
just lead
hero.
this off. Somebody lead it off.
broke down in tears. What a wuss. Wow. Broke down in tears. Look at this headline. Over villain role in new Olivia Wilde movie. Can you believe this headline? They have to call out the fact that he broke down in tears.
He is a bit of a wuss.
It's not a wuss.
Okay, hold on.
We got him.
Let him lead.
We got him.
Let him lead the
All right,
subject.
tell me why he's a wuss. and
Let
tell
him
me
lead
what-
the topic.
No. Steven, lead it.
Okay, Steven, lead the topic. What's going on here?
Eric's literally the judge here today.
Yeah, keep it going.
Yeah, I did think this was interesting. Jordan Peterson was on Piers Morgan, and he
That
literally
guy sucks, by the way.
He does kind of suck, although he's gotten a little better.
Has he gotten better?
He used to suck more,
Okay.
but still not great. Anyway, Piers Morgan asked him about how he felt that Chris Pine played him in this new Olivia Wilde movie. What was it called? Don't Worry, Darling. And he's sort of this cultish incel leader in the movie, and Olivia, they're basically like, yeah, it's Jordan Peterson. Just very directly, it's Jordan
Wait,
Peterson.
the actors themselves. So
The creator of the movie.
Oh, the creator of the movie
they're like,
said
yeah,
this.
it's Jordan Peterson.
Okay.
So Piers asked him how he felt about this, and he said some words and then sort of broke into tears. And then, I don't know if you Googled some of this, Armand, but you probably got very upset because if you Google Jordan Peterson cries, you'll just get pages on Google of people writing these opinion pieces dunking on Jordan
cries all the
Peterson
time.
cried. Good.
He cries in every interview. I mean, most of his interviews.
Crying is a sign of passion. That's fine.
It's absolutely fine.
He's a bit of a crier, but I mean,
Yeah,
we
but
could,
I can explain why he.
we could take a lot of
Well,
angles.
let's keep
on
going.
this.
What's the point here? So Jordan Peterson cried because they portrayed him in a movie in a negative light. Or
No. Let's slow down a little bit here. And
Yeah.
all of these points are important.
explain
right?
the topic.
Look, this lady, Olivia Wilde, based a character on who she believes Jordan Peterson is.
Olivia Wilde wrote the movie.
Yeah.
The actress
Yeah.
wrote this movie. Okay.
Wrote or directed.
Cool.
Wrote and directed, I think. I'm not sure. Do you know?
And she banged Harry Styles on the set, apparently.
Oh
What
yeah,
a-
there's a lot of drama with this movie.
a lot
apparently.
of drama.
She's a
in this
true
movie.
Renaissance woman. She's got the looks. She's got the
think-
creativity.
What's his face? Shia LaBeouf or whatever was also part of this or supposed to be.
And he's
part
banging
of this.
somebody in here.
I don't know who's banging who anymore.
He's probably banging Chris Pine.
And
It's a
The-
real free for all.
character was based on Jordan Peterson. When Jordan Peterson heard about this, his daughter actually first reacted to it, and then Chris Williamson reacted to it, and various other people on YouTube reacted to it, and the reaction that is factual and proper is absolute confusion and dismay. That's the appropriate reaction. But what this tells me about the overall, it's just a fascinating observation of how people in this day and age are interpreted in the mainstream media. That's what this is about. It's about the fact that a clinical psychologist, a prolific, one of the most well-cited clinical psychologists, one of the most popular thought leaders of our time, was called a pseudoscientist by the director of this movie. She literally called him a pseudo-intellectual hero to the incel community. The number of times Jordan Peterson has even addressed, first of all, I don't think he even knows what an incel is until he was told. The number of times he's even addressed a statement to incels, which I didn't even know what that word meant until Stephen told me, is like twice. And the only time he's addressed it is, I think he gets questions in a Q&A format. And there was once on Joe Rogan and once on a Q&A where basically the question came up from a young man just being like, I have no hope. I am a virgin. I don't think I'll ever be with anybody. Women don't like me, don't want me. And he literally did the typical Jordan Peterson thing, which his MO is straighten up your shoulders, put some fucking responsibility on your back, clean up your life, and make yourself desirable. And it is not, but incels believe, if I'm not mistaken, tell me, that the problem is women.
Stephen, tell us all about
Stephen the
incels.
incel.
I just spent a lot of time in the forums.
Yeah, I know. But they believe the complete opposite. Women are the problem. And they've chosen to take the black pill and relieve themselves of all responsibility. They will never even attempt because they have been deemed unworthy. Whereas he's saying, no, you can be worthy. And the funniest part about this is of all the things that you could use to characterize Jordan Peterson, clinical psychologist who's helped people with anxiety, depression, the psychological significance of the Bible, Jungian analysis and psychology, dreams, fucking everything, meaning of life, everything other than this topic. And that's the way he gets characterized. That tells me so much about the zeitgeist. And anybody who attempts to put themselves out there just gets smacked and beaten and
Well, that's always been true.
slapped with Steven's new pickleball paddle.
But you knew that. I mean, you knew that was always the
I
case.
know that, but it's very unfortunate. And one more point: the reason he cried and/or cries, the reason he cries, and it is different. I've never seen anything quite like it. But as a person who, I think, I can understand it. The reason he cries, I believe, is because he is such a deep thinking, philosophical person who's so in tune with his own mortality and other people's emotions that the idea that some people have even falsely chosen him to be this like inspiring figure to him is that touching. So his response, and I didn't see this clip, but based on what's written here that Stephen wrote, his response to Piers Morgan was like, yeah, fine.
Sure.
Okay, sure.
Why not?
Yeah, why not? You know, he does a great Jordan Peterson. Actually,
such a good
So I'm
Jordan
going to pass it to you, and you have to do the Jordan Peterson. But literally, instead of fighting it, instead of being like, no, that's not correct, he's like, you know what? That's the way people see me. That's the way I'm seen. Fine. He's thinking so much bigger than this bullshit. He's way too smart for this stuff. So, and then it touches him, and he's like, if that's the way it is, that's the way it is. He's playing the long game.
Okay, so Armand doesn't like Jordan at all.
I have my issues with him. I have my issues with him.
I have it's fine. I like Jordan. Jordan is interesting to me because like I've read not all of his books. The other two I tried, but I read 12 Rules for Life, and I've watched a ton of his videos, and I used to be like very into him, and I still like him. I just sort of like as you know, I'm wary of getting like overly attached to people. But I do think it's fascinating because there is a segment of the political spectrum that seems to hate him to the point where they feel it necessary to literally write a movie and write him into it, right? So I'm just curious, why do you think that a certain segment of we'll call it the political left, because it does seem to exclusively come from there. Why do these people hate him so much?
It's a great question. And I want to say one previous point. First of all, the reason I like Jordan Peterson, and I was joking about Piers Morgan, I like everybody. I like anybody who makes an attempt to share their ideas with the world and puts themselves out there, because that is a very challenging thing to do and a very brave thing to do, especially someone who's a teacher, like a professor of any kind, like a Jordan Peterson, an intellectual. Putting those ideas out there is extremely brave. So I like anybody. And I never look at someone's personality. I mean, I might laugh about it with you guys and go, the little shtick, that thing that they have is funny. But that's just like the human side of it. You know, we all like to laugh at each other. I might have a little thing that I do on this podcast. It's just funny. I can laugh at myself. But at the heart of the matter, I like these people. I like all these people. And I don't worry about getting overly attached to somebody and their ideas, because I also see the mistakes that they make, and I'm objective about them. I see the mistake. I see the things that Jordan Peterson has said sometimes. Some of them, like he just gets too angry, he gets too loud, he gets too whatever it might be. He gets too aggressive sometimes. But generally, I think the reason that he triggers the left so much is because he bathes in nuance. They simply cannot tolerate that level of detail. They don't listen to what he's saying. They literally are not listening. They are hearing words in order to respond, to position him in a way that he has an evil, immoral, bigoted idea, in order to show separation of that person and their ideas from their narrative. As you know, as someone who spent a lot of time in that world, you don't have a choice when you work with very progressive people. You either repeat the mantra or you're out. And if you say something that's different, they don't become curious. They don't go, what's that? You think the homelessness problem is what now? There's a detail there? No. They don't listen to that. Dismissed. Out. What did you say about homeless people? Oh, you
Canceled.
Canceled. You hate homeless people? We're not having a discussion. Wait. Do you mean that homeless people are blah, blah, blah? So there's no discussion. There's no back and forth. And that's why they hate him. Because he's easy. He's easy to mischaracterize. Because when he answers a question, it's a 30-minute answer. It's never, here's what I believe. That's what I think. What do you think? What do you think is the reason he gets so mischaracterized? Do you think he gets mischaracterized?
I think he does. I think most figures on each side get characterized. Like I think Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who I'm not like an enormous fan of.
The way you say her name.
Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez. I'm not a huge fan of her. I think there are things that she does that are worth admiration. She's obviously very good at particular things that she does, but like she's sort of like a cartoon villain of the right. And I think each side obviously has a tendency to like reduce these people into this like caricature of things they say. I don't know if it's that people on the left think that like they hate nuance. I think like Jordan legitimately says things about like women, for example, that I think badly interpret as like really misogynistic, kind of let's put women back in the kitchen, type thing. Women wear lipstick in the workplace to look, sexually attractive. He says a bunch of stuff that I can see why people think is inflammatory, although I sort of understand why it comes from.
But he's never made a statement like that. He points to data. He points to his clinical practice.
I mean, he's said that, and what he's saying, I think, is sort of correct from like a cold, calculating, like social psychology perspective, where you're just like, this is the way the world is. And I would,
and that makes people uncomfortable.
I would tend to agree. I also think that, and this sort of relates to the whole like Trump phenomenon. Like, sure, I guess you could say that the right does this too, but like, just talking about the left for a second, like there is an element of society who they like kind of like hate, like really despise. Like they hate this sort of like middle America white man type figure, the kind of classical like I used to work in the mines, or like they hate that they're all like sort of alt-right incels who spend their time on like 4chan and they're racist, like. And so I think anybody who talks to them, I think they sort of see as a threat because they're sort of talking to somebody who they view as like just terrible people. And I think it's like admirable that Jordan looks at these people and says like, you're not the scum of the earth. Like if you do some things and, get your life together and clean your room or whatnot. Like I think that's totally good. But I do think it's interesting at like why these people like sort of like hate this subset of America, and they put them all in this like box of like scum and villainy, basically. And it's obviously sowing a lot of division because it ties in with that like old like Hillary Clinton like deplorables quote, right? It's just there is this mindset of the political left where this segment of America and the world that is just sort of like outside the box. They're beyond redemption. They're not worth talking to. They're disgusting. We should just cut them out of like our like society, like some tumor or something. So I think that's kind of where it comes from.
Both sides absolutely do play the same game. They just have a different way of characterizing each other. The right loves to say that anyone on the left is just like an idiot commie, and that they don't understand how the world works, and that their ideas are stupid and broken, and any chance they get, they don't give it a chance either. Like I follow one of these pages, these right-leaning pages, the Hodge twins. You introduced me to them. These two funny black twins, Republican black twins. They're so funny.
They just do the same thing every video though.
But
they just go, yeah,
dude, you do that really well. But like Biden could breathe and they'll hate on him, and it's like it's just funny.
Yeah. Joe Biden's eating some ice cream.
Pretty much. They literally just
the
take
guy's
that.
like, Joe Biden's eating some ice cream. Wait, let's cut that out. That sounded kind of
No,
racist.
no, it was great. It
I was
was great.
trying to do an impression.
No, but this is the new meme. This is the new meme. Just give me your best Chinese.
No, I'm canceled enough already.
So I thought you made a good point. Is that I don't watch Jordan Peterson, and I haven't watched this movie either. But I think you touched on something. You touched on something that is, I think, accurate. Where it's like, let's even just use us as an example, not Jordan Peterson. It's like we think that we represent swimming in the messy gray, talking about nuance, digging into complex topics. But anyone can receive that message in their own way. So, like, who is to say that Jordan Peterson is not an incel god? Like, of course he could be. Like, incels might revere him, and that might not be his intended, like core message, but that could be part of his message, whether he wants it or not. Like the same way that anyone can interpret how we are.
It's like
right?
a guilt by association type thing. It's
I
like
think I
these people are
understand.
bad in our opinion, and they like you, therefore you are bad.
But it has nothing
I
to do
think you're
with
saying
guilt.
something. I think you're saying something a little more interesting and complex. Are you basically saying that regardless of how you truly would characterize a person objectively, even if you
or
would try
their intention.
their intention, that if I parse out a meaning from what somebody says and I have a subjective belief about how that message is transmitted to me, then that is in and of itself also accurate.
and you can't
and
control
correct.
that. Of course not. Like
You can't. Yeah.
so, like if that is the way that he's interpreted, then I think he's saying, sure, so be it.
And
Like
that was his response.
right,
Yeah.
and like
Yeah.
that's fair. Like if we get interpreted as like incel gods, like who are we to say
So,
that?
so
we're
there's a
not,
great
you know?
example of that. We swim in the messy gray. We try to go through these things, but we also say some things that if you take them out of context by themselves would be absolutely ridiculous. We make a lot of jokes. We curse a lot. We do all
that
these things.
clip of
Steven,
me, imitating the Hodgkins.
Steven just imitated two black guys. Like that's pretty bad. I mean, that's pretty cancelable. No, I'm kidding, Steven. You're fine. But if you take that,
We'll just cut that out.
no, it's great. No, because it actually proves the point, and that's why I like that we're having a meta discussion about it, right? If you take that and you pulled it out and you put it on YouTube and you go, look at what Steven just did, or look at what Armand just said, an entire group of people would believe, oh, Armand hates Persian people,
You hate
And-
Persian people?
Yeah, big time. And they would just be like, oh, wow, that's a thing. And they could believe that. And according to you, that's okay. And I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, it's you can't control
can't
it,
control
so
it.
it has to be okay. Like
Yeah.
it just is the way that it's interpreted.
So is trying to correct the narrative ever worthwhile?
Of course, and I think he went out and cried about it because he's like trying to correct the narrative.
I don't think he cried about it.
Well, I don't know if he cried about it or not. You guys told me he cried
I
about
think
it.
he cried. No, he definitely cried. I watched
The
the video. He
headline said he
definitely
cried.
cried.
I
Did
mean-
he cry because he was thinking about himself or others?
I think he
Who
cried
cares?
because he
It's
a
felt
big
genuinely.
difference.
I don't think
bad.
there's anything that's wrong about crying to begin with. So I don't think there's a big difference. I don't give a shit about
I
crying.
agree with that. I agree with
I
that.
think crying's fine.
I'm
But
gonna
I'm,
cry right
I'm
now.
after seeing the guy cry many times, I can tell he's crying when he thinks about these existential things.
Sure, but like I wouldn't admonish him for crying for something less. Like who cares? He cried or he
Okay,
didn't. Like who
fair
cares?
All right, so we're
Fair
all
enough.
pro crying.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
It's
very
good.
pro.
We're all strong men in touch with our emotions.
I mean,
I broke the cry barrier last episode. So
you sure did.
yeah,
And people have been talking.
Were you the
about
first person to cry on the pod?
that's what Eric said.
I've cried from laughter many times.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
No, I literally cry every movie I watch.
Oh, same.
It's like even a comedy, I'm like bawling my eyes out.
I cry in like not in rom-coms, but like the serious romantic ones sometimes.
Oh,
Well, the
that's
rom coms
so
always
touching.
try to bring it back to
The
sentimentality.
rom-coms
too.
are like too cheesy. I can't cry
They're
in
way
them.
too cheesy.
Oh, I'm bawling
No,
every
I don't-
time.
Yeah.
I don't-
I cried very hard in like The Theory of Everything.
Oh
that
man, I
got
just
me.
rewatched
I was
that.
just
Huge,
like,
huge tearjerker.
I cried. What's the Knicks goat Turing movie?
Oh yeah.
Oh man, I just rewatched that.
Damn. Yeah. What's that called again?
Imitation Game.
Imitation Game. Yeah.
Didn't
Yeah.
cry
During
during that one, but it was.
It's touching.
It was right in the feels there.
Yeah, it was anything sentimental.
Also,
But the point is that not? It's not controllable, but I just think it's lame to write an article about somebody.
Well, I think it's totally
like that.
cowardly that they would write an article that says,
That's
like,
the
"Hey, this
headline.
guy cried." Like, that's fucking
It's lame.
so lame. Of course.
Okay, so Vanity Fair canceled.
I mean,
We're canceling them.
yeah, I'm not a Jordan
They
Peterson
just
watcher.
wrote one of the recaps. You're canceling everybody on the internet, basically.
No, I know. All right, next topic. Eric style.
Yeah, what do we got next?
You want to go one more? All
Let's
right.
do one
Let's
more.
do it. Let's. You want to do something lighthearted? Like, is Putin going to end the world?
Yeah.
Nice
All
and
right.
easy.
Yeah,
nice and
Nice
light.
and easy. Okay. Nice and easy. So, yeah, there's been lots of videos going around Twitter, talks that like Putin is mobilizing a train, the nuclear train, called the nuclear train because, you know, it
holds nukes.
yeah,
Guy
there's
sucks at branding.
I don't know if that's the name he gave it, but it's apparently moving towards Ukraine. They've also deployed the world's largest submarine with some drone capabilities. They call it the Apocalypse drone, which sounds really,
Pretty
lighthearted
ominous.
and fun. So that's happening. I was actually listening to Colin last night on the post All In recap that they do there. And
That's a thing?
yeah, and it was really good. Actually, it was a good convo. Naval was speaking, and he was speaking very passionately about this topic. He was kind of distressed. I think he thought like we were really whistling past the graveyard and dropping the ball in many ways. I think we actually haven't really talked a lot about Ukraine lately. We talked about it a little when it first came, but then we kind of got tired of bringing it up, and we're not like foreign policy experts or anything. But I don't know. Did you guys see the speech Putin gave like a few days ago?
I didn't see it, but I read.
It was like really dark and
Ominous.
fire and brimstone, and like he had this line in it where he basically directly called out Hiroshima and Nagasaki and called them precedent. So like
I'm at the point
I'm
where,
concerned. I don't know.
No,
What do
I'm
you
at the
think?
point where I think this is going to happen. This is going to happen.
You think nukes are happening?
Yeah,
You think
I
like
think
more than
his nuke-
50%?
I don't know more, but I would place this at high, man. Higher than it's ever been.
What's
for
high
sure.
for you?
30 to 40%.
Holy shit, that's very high.
Yeah.
that's
I think this
really
is
high.
happening.
So,
And no
like,
one's going to stop
it
it.
would mark the end of his reign for sure.
I don't know.
Yes.
I don't know. I don't
Yes.
think anyone's going to do a goddamn thing about it.
Oh, it'd be the end of this war
Well,
for sure.
I don't know. Can you tell me why?
Just because like the whole world understands that nuclear threat is like beyond borders. It's like this is a real problem for civilization. We would, I think, band together to stop that.
What would be the response, you think? You don't think they would prevent it?
no,
right?
Wait, let's
No.
define the nuke.
Yeah.
Though. What if it's a tactical battlefield nuke, one of the little guys, and it's done on a non-NATO country where we're not technically bound?
So
to
right
go in?
now, the U.S. is shipping dollars to Ukraine, and it's like every month, it's like 13 billion more or whatever. And we haven't actually deployed any resources in terms of like boots on the ground. We haven't like fought back. If he deploys a nuclear device, it would mark our introduction into a war. The same way
disagree
Pearl Harbor
for
was,
the-
the same way D-Day was.
I
like,
disagree
it
for
would-
the
it'd be
very
over for him.
reason that you state.
It'd be over for
because
him.
I,
What do you mean
disagree.
over for him?
No.
Though? Like play
Because
it out. What does
we
that mean?
will
over?
intervene.
We
and
will
destroy.
not intervene because that would mark the beginning
like,
of World
what
War
if we
III.
intervene?
We will not intervene.
Yeah,
I
100
disagree.
I'm so strong on this. We're going to watch it happen. It's becoming more likely than ever. He's never backed down. He's going to do it because he's literally barely even being pushed anymore. It's almost like he's doing it for show. He's saying, he said yesterday, we're going to get back all the territories. Don't worry. They're all ours. We're not giving anything back. He's going to drop a nuke, or it's going to be one of these battlefield ones or whatever you're talking about, a little baby one. A lot of people are going to die. The world is going to grieve, and no one's going to move a finger. You know why? Because nobody wants World War III. If one country moves, it's over for everybody. We have to literally watch. That's what's tragic about this. We're going to watch potentially 1 million people die.
And I'm going to say it is the start of World War III.
I don't think there can be any reaction, dude. If there is any reaction whatsoever, it's not just the US intervening. It could be anyone intervening. That would mark the beginning of the
No,
most.
it's the world intervening. Like the world would intervene against that.
Even if the world goes against him, he's got a ton of nukes, and nobody wants to take that challenge on. Nobody wants to do that.
I don't.
Even if it was Russia
Even
against
if
the
I
world.
don't disagree that it's the end of him, before it's the end of him, like doesn't he just launch a nuke to Britain and like every city in the European Union at a minimum?
If it was that there was some kind of end coming for him,
Yeah, you get like
he's going to keep playing
Kind of
his
like guy
game.
with nothing to lose.
a wild animal backed into a corner is gonna. Like,
That's what I worry
fight to the
about.
death.
That we're just like backing him into a corner. That's why I thought like Elon's tweet was like kind of reasonable.
Yeah.
Right. It seems sort of
Seeking a
sane.
peace
It's
plan.
maybe not exactly well thought out. Maybe there's a couple things, but like, what is the end game? Like the end game is either he gets some sort of golden bridge to get out and save face and say he got something he wanted, or what is the alternative? You just back him into a corner where he becomes absolutely desperate. Like, I think a lot of people don't realize, like, he's getting pressure from like insiders in his country for like not being hawkish enough. He's not like getting pressure from people for like going to war. They're just like, what do you?
No,
what
he's
are you
also
doing?
getting pressure for pulling 300,000 people.
No, he's getting
reserves into
he's
the
getting some
military.
pressure from like people on the internet in Russia, but like the insiders in Russia, I think like the hardliners are like applying power. I mean, from everything I got this from Sachs and the Vol. They're very confident that like he is like getting pressure from the hardliners for not being hawkish enough. So like I don't know if I buy that end of the theory, you know, and.
I don't think the world rolls over if he starts using nuclear warfare. The world does not.
Well, I don't
roll
think
over.
we.
So if we play that out, Eric, let's say the world obviously would unite against Russia if he.
Well, you're
moved.
saying obviously, but I that's what I'm saying. But you're disagreeing with me. So
No. I don't disagree that the world would unite against Russia. I disagree that there would be a reaction of any kind. So let's just say that the world. And now let's play out what
the
you're
world
saying.
unites in thoughts and prayers.
Yeah.
That's the world reaction.
Yeah. But the reaction you're stating would be a real action.
Yeah.
And
I think-
let's play that out.
I think it's a global line in the sand. Like anyone who uses nukes, anyone, the world is going to respond to that.
And how would they respond to it? By nuking the shit out of them?
No, just kinetically, we would go to war. Like right now, we're sending money. We're not at war. We
But
would go
us,
to war.
us going to war ends in
In nukes.
right.
There can't be an escalation.
That's the.
That's
This is like
the challenge.
It's like the biggest high stakes poker game that's like ever been played. It's like the ultimate bluff call. Right. Like, because like from his perspective, like the way the game theory seems to play out, like it's like okay, like nuking a NATO country seems obviously bad. But like if you tactically nuke like a segment of Ukraine,
Like how would
that's-
you categorize Hiroshima and Nagasaki? Are those tactical nukes? Incinerating 200K people immediately?
I
Like,
would not consider those to be like tactical nukes. No,
yeah, so we're talking about something subjective right now. Because
I'm saying like I
how
don't
you
think
define
he
tactical.
Yeah, like I don't think if he escalates just dropping a big bomb on like a just sending a missile to a big city. I don't think he would do that.
And like, let's be clear. I'm saying the word nuke to mean like, you know, we've all kind of agreed globally that there's a line in the sand. No one's going to use nukes. You're using tactical bomb, and we're not defining what that means. So, like, you know, I think it's important to say, like, you know, if he incinerates 200K people right off the bat, I think the world responds.
Yeah, I think when people say like tactical battlefield nukes, they're talking about these more controlled, generally in a non-populated area type things, which is kind of the equivalent of like being in a crowd, just whipping out your gun, being like, I got a gun, I'm fucking crazy, right? That's like the thing you do for. It doesn't make a lot of sense for him to just go nuke a city, right? That's sort of the end of everything, right? It doesn't make sense from him, but it does make sense to kind of, I think, from a game theory perspective, like pull out like a little one and throw something somewhere and be like, I am not fucking around. Like you guys keep calling my bluffs, and then like you put you in a position where it's like, well, what are you gonna do? You're gonna end the world over like a little battlefield nuke that kills like 1,000 people?
Can't believe
Probably,
But in
probably
either
not.
of those scenarios, whether it's a battlefield nuke or a real full-blown Hiroshima-style nuke, I don't think there's any response.
I can't believe we held this topic to the end of this podcast.
Yeah, we should have probably done the other one as a palate
That's
cleanser.
Oh man,
So, what's your favorite ice cream flavor? I'm really into black cherry.
I'm not a black cherry guy.
No, that is
No.
fucking blasphemous.
I
Get
can't
outta
eat
here.
ice cream because I'm pretty lactose intolerant.
All right, cool.
First
So
of
should we
all-
just end it there, Eric style? All right, thank you, everybody.
Fruity ice cream is an atrocity.
I agree. It has to be creamy.
No, fruity ice
Thank
cream is
you.
amazing.
No.
Sugary.
I will
Sugary, creamy
I will
goodness.
hold my
Cookies
tongue
and
here.
What are you, like a
The
sorbet
spirit of-
guy?
No, you want cookies and shit in there, like
Yeah.
sugar.
Yeah. Like a chocolate chip cookie dough.
Thank you.
Snickerdoodle.
Yes. No.
Some kind of Ben and Jerry's.
Yeah.
Ooh, Talenti. Do you know that Italian
I'm
brand?
all about the
Talenti.
Talenti.
Talenti salted caramel.
Oh, I won't even go back to ice cream.
Can
I'm
we
gelato.
focus on
Yeah.
the end of the world?
No. We're
I
past that.
think we already moved topic.
we already passed that. We had to end with a little sweet.
Yeah.
A little sweet.
That's fine. Let's
Okay.
just pretend we didn't even talk about that. Ice cream's
That was
great.
rough. That
Thanks,
was rough.
everybody.
But yeah, hopefully peace for the world, man, because that's not what we want to see.
All
obviously.
right. So yeah, I guess next time for us, maybe we'll give a little more thought to the order in which we broach the topics.
Sure.
And then,
Hey, I like the popcorn.
but
like-
like overall, I had a lot of fun with this. I will say.
Eric had like a gavel
Oh,
throughout
yeah.
the
Well,
whole
next
thing.
time I'm gonna have
we
like-
should
give
get
him
him
a
a
real
little
gavel.
literal gavel. He had
I'm
like a
gonna bring
metaphorical
like
gavel.
an electronic scoreboard from like my old high school basketball days and be like, Armand, beep beep beep.
Can you wear a judge's wig?
yeah.
I feel
That
like
would
he's
make
gonna
it
be
for me.
like Ari and just gonna whip out the paintball gun. Just, You're done.
I like it. We probably need that.
I don't want to get shot with a paintball gun.
Well, I meant we need the interjections to move on sometimes.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's a good mix.
It
Yeah.
was good.
All right. Cool.
All right. We love you guys.
Good stuff,
Let
guys.
us know what you thought of that intellectual shit show. Talk to you guys later. Peace.